Good morning, afternoon, or night, whenever you want to watch this video. This video is going to be about slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is useful because just by looking at it, you can graph a line very easily. So in slope-intercept form, it tells you two things. It tells you if you know slope, it tells you can put it right there. And if you know the y-intercept, it goes in here for b. Slope's the letter M, y-intercept's the letter b. So if I gave you a problem where I say, hey, your slope is 2/3 and your y-intercept is 6. All we got to do to be able to put this into an equation is, well, I'm going to write it as I see it. Y equals my slope, 2/3, x, because we're trying to find a relationship between x and y, and then plus 6. And we do this because we're trying to find that relationship between x and y. And these are the modifiers that change x. When we plug numbers in for x, we got to do these two little modifiers to find out what your y is, because we're trying to find that relationship, right? There are so many answers to lines because it's a relationship. Now, typically when you only have one variable, there's only one answer, typically, right? But in this case, there are so many answers that work and so many that don't work. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give you the same idea. What if I say your slope was 2 and your y-intercept is 7? Well, you just plug in what you know. So I'm going to say y equals, I'm going to leave my x, and my slope, like I said before, was 2, so that goes right by the x. That is the thing that directly modifies the x, right? Because you take an x, you move some way up, some way over, and then you do your your y-intercept. Add 7. It should be pretty simple, just like that. So if we can work one way, we should be able to work the other way too. So I'm going to shrink this board. Oh, I cannot shrink. Can I shrink it? Oh, that's as small as it gets. I always do that. That's okay. So I'm just going to erase this stuff right here. I'm just going to erase all this stuff. So what I want to see from you guys is I'm going to give you 4 equations, and I want you to tell me what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So I'm going to say y equals, I wrote them down to make it easier. That way I'm not always fumbling. 10x plus 5. Y equals -8 plus 3/5 x. New one. Y equals -5x. New one. Y equals -3. Boom. So just by looking at this, we should be able to tell very easily what is your slope, what is your y-intercept. So I'm going to put my slope equals, all of these are going to have some type of slope, right? And I can just go through and see all my slope. My slope is whatever is touching that x. Whatever is modifying that x directly is our slope. So in this case, 10 is our slope because it's directly touching our x. A lot of y'all might say -8, but is that the number touching the x? No, the 3/5 is. Boom. Easy. And we move on over here to the third one. What's directly modifying your x? Well, we got that -5 there. Nice and simple. That is our slope. And that last one's weird because we don't have an x. So will we have a slope? Yeah, but it's, if there's no x, what number's in front of x? 0 is. So our slope technically on this one is 0. Where there is no relationship between x and y. X just keeps, y moves, but x doesn't. Y moves, but x doesn't. Don't we know that that goes side to side? Yeah. Now we're going to go through and we're going to find our b. B equals, b equals, b equals, b equals. Well, let's look at this guy. This guy, we have, what's our b? Whatever number's not touching the x is our b. Boom. Boom. There's nothing there. But if there's nothing there, we know there's an invisible number. And what's that invisible number? 0. So that that y-intercept is 0. And this last one, your y-intercept is -3. Nice, simple, and easy. Deal? Now we're going to move into something called slope. We're going to move into something called standard form. We're going to move into something called standard form. So let me erase this. Standard form is in the format of ax plus by equals c. Looking at standard form doesn't tell you anything about how the graph looks. It doesn't tell you whether that graph goes up, down, left, right, whether you start 5 up, whether you start 30 down. It doesn't tell you anything. But using algebra, we can manipulate this to get y by itself. Because when you're in the format of y equals mx plus b, you can very clearly see whatever your slope is and whatever your y-intercept is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few equations in standard form, and we're going to try to transform them into slope-intercept and then pull out the information that is useful to us. So let's get you an equation. Why don't we say 3x plus 5y equals 15. Now, how might we get y by itself? Well, if we're trying to get y by itself, do you think we're going to move the 5 first, which is attached to the y, or the extra guy out front? Hopefully you all said the extra guy out front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this 3x that way. Well, how do I get rid of the positive 3x? Don't I got to subtract it off of this side to get rid of it? And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other side. Subtract 3x to the other side. These guys cancel. So I'm left with 5y equals, you can write it either way, but I like when my x is first. Well, this is a negative 3x, and that's a positive 15. Remember that we can't put those together because one's an x, one's a constant. So you can't really add them together. So we put them side by side. Now, how do I get y by itself here? Well, we know that this means 5 times y, don't we? So we're going to divide this by 5. And when it comes to division, we got to divide every piece. When we divide, if I know that I have as much money as 2 other people, if they cut my money in half, they got to cut each of the other people's money in half. So I'm going to divide every number by 5. That being the case, these 5s turn into a 1. That means they cancel out. So we get y equals, now I have negative 3 over 5. Are we cool with slope being a fraction? Yeah, we are, right? What's cool with slope being a fraction because there's a relationship of how much x moves in comparison to y, or y moves in comparison to x. So we can just call that negative 3/5 x. And then we do over here. We got 15 divided by 5. Does that simplify out? Again, it will. So we're going to do 15 divided by 5, which is 3. This is your final answer. This gives you information about what your slope is and what your y-intercept is. And we could just say, hey, guys, my slope is attached to my x, which would be negative 3 over 5. And my y-intercept is whatever that extra guy is, 3. Nice, simple, and easy. Let's do 2 more examples, all right? Let's do 2 more examples. I'm going to erase this. I'm going to zoom. Let's erase it. I'm going to zoom in. So if I zoom in, I can zoom out. Who would have thunk? So let's get to, yep, that's okay. Oh, I don't like A being there. Let's thin this out. Well, we're going to have a red equation and blue equation. My red equation, negative 3x up. Let's make it an 8. Negative 8x plus 4y equals 24. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but with a different equation. Let's do negative 10x minus 8y equals 40. I like that. Let's make it a negative 40. Just be different. Cool. Let me solve my red equation. My red equation, I'm going to be switching between black and red. So for this equation, we got to get the y by itself. So that means we got to get rid of the negative 8x. How do we get rid of negative 8x? Hopefully you all said plus 8x over here, plus 8x over here. These guys cancel. So on this side, we're left with 4y equals. Now we have 24 plus 8x. Now I could write it like that. Let me just write it like that, just to be fun. 24 plus 8x. And then how do I finish it out? Divide every term by 4. So we get y equals, can we do 24 divided by 4? I think so, that gets us 6. Can we do 8 divided by 4? Yeah, that just gives us 2. And now, very clearly, we can see what is our slope and what is our y-intercept. What is our slope? Is it going to be 6 or 2? Hopefully you all said 2, because that is the number touching the x. So your slope is 2, or as a fraction, 2 over 1, right? Up to the right. And your y-intercept is 6. I got to stop doing 6 because it looks just like my b. Right? Nice, simple, and easy. Now let's do the other one. Let's do the other side. Well, how do we get rid of minus 10x? Why don't we add 10x to both sides of the equation? These guys cancel. So we get negative 8y equals 10x minus 40. And then we divide by negative 8. Divide each term by negative 8. These guys cancel. So we get y equals, we will have 10 over negative 8. I'm cool with that. So I can say 10 over negative 8 x. And then can I simplify that? I can, to a positive 5. 40 divided by 8 is 5. Negative divided by negative is positive. Nice and simple. Now, although this is technically right, there is a better answer. My slope needs to be simplified. Do you guys remember how to simplify? Hopefully. I'm going to write it over here. 10 over negative 8. Now, what can I rewrite 10 as? Is there a number that goes to both 10 and 8? Hopefully you all said 2. So I can call this 10 is the same as 2 times 5. 8 is the same as 2 times 4, or negative 2 times negative 4. And if there's a factor in top and the bottom, they can cancel out. So what is our new slope? Our real slope is going to be negative 5 over 4. And whether the negative sign's on the top or bottom doesn't matter. I like to always write it just in front. So there's that. And let's move this stuff over. Let's move it down, actually. Look at me doing stuff. Look how that goes. Cool. And I just write the rest of my equation. Y equals boom, 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 boom. Where this is my slope and this is my y-intercept. Cool. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch y'all later.